Welcome to the Kingdom Advancement Center Exponential Leadership Conference. That is our theme for this conference, and today I want to let you know I am not an authority on the subject. I can tell you that I have been in positions of leadership. I have also been a follower, so what I can tell you is what I do know. So you may have to do some additional work after I get done, but I will take you as far as I have gone. So today what I'm going to talk about is leadership. It's not just what you do, but it's also how you do it. So what I plan to cover about leadership, what exactly is it? Why do we need it? Why do people follow? What does good leadership look like? And lastly, what does leadership have to do with me? So first, I took a look at the definition. So go straight to the dictionary. And what does it say about leadership? It defined leadership in Merriam-Webster as the office or position of a leader. Leadership is the capacity to lead, or leadership can be defined as the act or an instance of leading. I personally did not find this very helpful. It basically defined the word with the word. So as far as I could tell from this, leadership has something to do with the ability to lead. So let's try it a different way. What does it mean to lead? Let's go that route. So to lead is to guide on a way, especially by going in advance. To lead is to direct the operations, activity, or performance of. You can lead by having charge of something, or you can lead by going ahead. So this is a little bit better. It gives you somewhat of a visual about what it means to be a leader. What I take away from this is a leader is out front. It says they're ahead, they're going in advance. So if somebody is going in advance, it sounds like it could be something risky. So you're the first one, you're out in front. If you're out in front, it could also be lonely out in front. It could also be a lot of pressure, all eyes on you. So I get a little bit better feel about what it means to be a leader. So all interesting, but so what? Like, what do we need leaders for? Why are these people going out in front? What is the purpose? Why do we need leaders? So if we go to Ecclesiastes, it tells us that 2 is better than 1. So Ecclesiastes 4:9-12. 2 are better than 1 because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up. Again, if 2 lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? And if 1 prevail against him, 2 shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So 2 is better than 1. Working in a group is better than having somebody try to work alone. If you fall down, somebody can help you up, so there's some safety or security in a group. Same with heat. If you're out in the cold, having 2 people, you're more likely to survive. It's a survival mechanism to work as a group. Lastly, if somebody comes against you, if there's a predator, it's hard to take out a group of people. It's relatively easy to take out 1. So working in a group is part of our nature as far as survival. And 2 is better than 1 until it's not. So there are also challenges with working in groups. If we stay in Ecclesiastes, it says, again, I considered all travail and every right work, that for this a man is envied of his neighbor. If you look up travail, the Hebrew word is amal, which means to toil, worry, or labor. And if you look up right here, it's the Hebrew word kishron, which means success or advantage. So what this is saying is, again, I considered all toil, worry, or labor, and every success or advantage in work, that for this a man is envied of his neighbor. So even though it's good to work in groups, what happens when you get people in a group is then you start to get envy and strife and people battling against each other. So even though it can be a positive thing, sometimes I'm sure we can all attest to, it doesn't always turn out that way. So this is one of the primary reasons we need leaders. Skilled leaders are able to get people to work together for the greater good. So here we see in Philippians 2, verses 2 through 4. Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves. Look not every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others. So this is the Apostle Paul talking to the church, trying to give instruction, talking against what we just saw when things go wrong in a group. He's trying to get everybody to work together and be considerate of each other. It's not just every man for himself. In 1 Corinthians 10, verses 23 and 24, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. So you can do a whole bunch of stuff, but that doesn't mean it's a good idea for you to do it. Let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Again, it's that same notion of we need to work together for the greater good. That is the benefit of people working together, and we need to steer away from the strife and the rivalry. That is what a leader's role is to keep people working together and on the right vein for the greater good. So now that we know why we need leaders, why do people decide to follow leaders? People have a lot of different motivations for following leaders. Some of them are good and some of them not so good. So is it a case of, hey, if I go this route, if I go with this person, I'm likely to make more money. Am I going to be safe? You know, I think this is a safe way to go. This is protection. If I don't do it, is there a fear of missing out? People could do it for status, for belongings. There's all kind of motives for why people follow leaders. But at the end of the day, people do it for their own benefit. So for whatever their reason is, whether it's good or bad, they believe it's going to be beneficial to them. Here we see in Matthew chapter 15, verses 30 through 32. And great multitudes came unto him, having with them those that were lame, blind, dumb, maimed, and many others, and cast them down at Jesus' feet, and he healed them. Insomuch that the multitude wondered when they saw the dumb to speak, the maimed to be whole, the lame to walk, and the blind to see, and they glorified the God of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples unto him and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I will not send them away fasting, lest they faint in the way. So what this is showing, there are great numbers. There's a lot of people following. And who are they following? They're following Jesus around. Why are they doing that? Do they know everything that he's done? Do they know his whole history? Maybe, maybe not. But what they do know is I see this man healing people. That was one of his greatest functions for evangelism, was healing people. Whether you know all the history or not, everybody knows or has had an experience with illness, knows somebody who has had an experience with illness. Therefore, this seems like something good. People are getting on board in droves. People are not even eating. I think I'm better off hanging with this guy than I am stopping to get a bite to eat. They are following because healing is something good. Another example. So here in Judges, this one may look like a more common, the scenario of how the leadership is brought to the forefront. This is about Abimelech, who was a son of Gideon. And basically, at this point, Abimelech is trying to go up against his half-brothers. So he's trying to get the people of Shechem to go with him. So, and Abimelech, the son of Jerubbaal, went to Shechem unto his mother's brethren and communed with them and with all the family of the house of his mother's father, saying, Speak, I pray you, in the ears of all the men of Shechem, whether it is better for you, either that all the sons of Jerubbaal, which are 70 persons, reign over you, or that one reign over you. So basically, he's laying out the plan. Like, hey, here are what your options are. You can go with all of these people reigning over you, or you can pick me. Remember also that I am your bone, I and your flesh. Like, we are family. Like, you can go with these other cats, but, you know, really, is that what you want to do? You could just have one little wonderful me who is your own family. And his mother's brethren spake of him in the ears of all the men of Shechem all these words. And their hearts inclined to follow Abimelech, for they said, he is our brother. So I pulled this scripture out because, again, I believe this is more of a more realistic example, or more relevant. People can relate to it because you're given a choice in a lot of cases. Are you going with this person, or are you going with that person? I mean, we have the scenario coming up right now. Elections will be before you know it. The cases are being laid out for you. Which one do you believe is best? People are going to follow the leader. They're going with the leader that they think will be most beneficial for them. Unfortunately, in this case, it turned out not to be true. So you can make that assessment. And you can try to make that decision. It doesn't always mean it's right, but that's what the people's intent is. They make the decision based on the information that they have. So it's important, like in this case, to be careful who you follow. You need to make sure you follow, you need to make those decisions thoughtfully and not just jump behind everybody. Everything you see on Instagram is not what it seems. You need to be careful who you get on board with. In Romans 14, verse 9, let us therefore follow after the things which make for peace, and things wherewith one may edify another. Again, it's back to, you need to look for things that are doing the greater good. It's not about selfishness. It's not about just doing what's good for you. You need to look for things that are going to edify and be beneficial to the greater body. 3 John 1 and 11, Beloved, follow not that which is evil, but that which is good. He that doeth good is of God, but he that doeth evil hath not seen God. Proverbs 29 and 2, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. So when you pick a good leader, you're behind the right person, you rejoice. However, but when the wicked bear the rule, the people mourn. It is not going to turn out good. So when we try to consider who we should follow then, what qualities should a leader have? Who should we be looking for? So the one person that came to mind immediately was David. Like, there's a lot about David's leadership in the Bible. People talk about, David, he was a strong warrior. So what does the Bible really tell us about David? So in Psalms 78, it says, God chose, so he chose David, also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the ewes, great with young, he brought him to feed Jacob his people and Israel his inheritance. So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. So this tells you that David had two main components, two main qualities that you should be looking for. This is what God chose. God chose David, and God chose him because he had integrity and he had skillfulness of his hands. So what is integrity? Integrity is completeness, moral innocence, it's uprightness. I'm sure you could think of a lot of words. People say, oh, he has a strong character. He's honest, trustworthy, dependable. That is what integrity is. That is a important component in what you look for in the quality of a leader. And why is that important? Because leadership is not just about what you do. He is skillful. It said it very clearly. David knew what he was doing, but it's also about how you do it. So even though I may look young, I have spent way too many years in corporate America. And this has been an interesting transition that I have seen firsthand. So I think the older generation had the habits of being loyal. No matter what, this is a good company, I'm staying, I'll be all right. The millennials have come along, and let me just tell you, if they don't like it, they're not staying. So what has happened on performance reviews, it used to just be, what did you accomplish? Did you meet the business goals? Did we hit the sales? Did you deliver? Over the last few years, there's been a section that came up called behavior. So what happened? You could have hit all the sales in the world, but you left carnage. Like, it's dead people, empty desks, people quit. Is the company better off? They're no longer so sure. And especially when talent is hard to come by, it's hard to get these millennials on board. It's like, y'all work all the time. You don't respect my hours. It's a new day. So now you're starting to see a change where behavior is starting to matter. It's not just about the skill. It's also about how you do it. Another quality for a leader. Again, still talking about David. So here, in 1 Chronicles 13:1, and David consulted with the captains of thousands and hundreds, and with every leader. And David said unto all the congregation of Israel, if it seem good unto you, and that it be of the Lord our God, let us send abroad unto our brethren everywhere that are left in the land of Israel, and with them also to the priests and Levites, which are in their cities and suburbs, that they may gather themselves unto us. And let us bring again the ark of our God to us, for we inquired not at it in the days of Saul. And all the congregation said that they would do so, for the thing was right in the eyes of all the people. So what this is telling you is David consulted others. He's not just going off of what's in his mind. Going to get the ark, that's not an easy task. It's not like he was going to go do it by himself. He needs the buy-in, or wants the buy-in from all the people. So the people have a say in what's happening. So effective leaders are willing to listen. Because, again, what you find out, nobody likes to feel like they're just a number, they only take orders, and what they think or what they do doesn't matter. So it's an important role of a leader. Again, as you're trying to unify, get people to work together, you have to be willing to listen to others. More leadership qualities. So in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, now we command you, brethren, and this is Apostle Paul again, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye withdraw yourselves from every brother that walketh disorderly. Again, back to stay away from people that do foolishness. And not after the tradition which he received of us. For yourselves know how ye ought to follow us. For we behave not ourselves disorderly among you. Neither did we eat any man's bread for naught, but wrought with labor and travailed night and day, that we might not be chargeable to any of you. Not because we have not power, but to make ourselves an ensample unto you to follow us. For even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. So there's a lot in here. So first they're saying, one, stay away from disorderly people. They're saying they intentionally set an example for them to follow. Like, you should follow us. We have not done anything disorderly. You can ask yourselves that you are seeing us do the right thing. They said that they didn't eat any man's bread. They are working with them. So you don't even have a reason to say that we did anything wrong. We are working with you as well. They were willing to put the work in. They have set an example. And I think that is another strong quality that you should look for in a leader. Strong leaders live by example. If you don't, if the person is not living and all they can do is talk about it, it makes you question really like what side are they on? What is really happening? So again, living by example, which people can look to, which can help you discern whether you want to be following this person or not. It's important to have leaders live by example. So here we look at the ultimate example. I think this is the one that comes top of mind, of course, Jesus. So John 10, the thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. So first of all, I'll stop and go back where it says they might have life more abundantly. So we originally talked about people are going to follow because they think it's beneficial. So the first thing he's serving up is life more abundantly. You might want to get on board, right? I'm the good shepherd. He gives his life for the sheep. So this is not somebody who's going to hang you out to dry. This is somebody who has integrity. He's putting it out there, again, to try to help you make a decision about who you should follow. But he that is an hireling and not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not, seeth the wolf coming and leaveth the sheep and fleeth. And the wolf catcheth them and scareth the sheep. So again, the part of groups working together is supposed to be for protection. If your leader is the one that throws you under the bus, like that defeated the whole purpose. You have to have somebody with integrity. So the hireling fleeth because he is an hireling and careth not for the sheep. I am the good shepherd and know my sheep and am known of mine. So here I would say one of the main takeaways is that good leaders care about their followers. So we talked about what are the motivations for people to follow. You should also question what are the motivations for people to lead. If they don't care anything about the people, it's all self-serving, it will not last. We just heard what happens when you're going to end up mourning. You need to be careful who you follow. Leaders need to care about the people that are following them. So a lot of scriptures, I just quoted a lot of scriptures to go through to come to that, which can sound super spiritual. So like, yes, that is wonderful in the church, sheep and Jesus, and yes, the good shepherd. So let's look outside of the church. So here, this was a Gallup study that was done between 2005 and 2008. And they did a survey of 10,000 people that were considered to be in follower roles. So they were asked, what do you look for in a leader? And you will see it looked exactly like what the scripture said it should look like. Outside of the church is still the same thing. The Bible is still true. This is what people are looking for in a good leader. So first and foremost, it was trust. Somebody that is honest, consistent, dependable, sounds like integrity. Somebody with compassion. They want somebody to care about them. Isn't that what we just said? Stability, a sense of safety and security. That's the whole point of being in a group in the first place. The leader has to facilitate that. And people are looking for hope. This is back to beneficial, something to look forward to. They're looking for motivation, for purpose. The reason why people rally around the leader in the first place is because of the vision they think it's going to be beneficial for them. So really what you look at here, leadership is about people and values, and it's not just about results. So you'll hear a lot of conversations about, well, what's the difference between leadership and management? Management, you get into numbers, you get into managing resources, but once you get into really what leadership is talking about people, relationship with people, and values. Results are not enough to be a good leader. So what does effective leadership look like in action? And like I said, I am not an authority. I've seen there's a bunch of them. So if you got some time, look on Google. You can learn a lot. However, I did pick something that I thought was pretty concise that kind of lines up exactly with what we're talking about. So Franklin Covey has what they call the 4 essential roles of leadership. And you'll see all of this is very consistent. So what they say the leader's primary role first is to inspire trust. Be a leader that others choose to follow. It's back to the same place, integrity and skill. You have to create a vision, clearly define a vision that unifies and benefits the group as a whole. So as a leader, that is part of what your function is. Execute strategy. So consistently achieve results with and through others. I think that's what you saw with the Apostle Paul. They weren't afraid to work. It's not just me telling you what to do all the time. At some point, you might have to get your hands dirty. But you have to create a culture of discipline and collaboration. So yes, I'm going to give you some instruction. I might direct you, but we all still need to work together. And last but not least, coach potential. And I think this is the other part of care. Like if you care for somebody, it's not just about how you look in the end. You want everybody to benefit. That's why people came aboard in the first place. So here you coach potential. Support the development of each person on your team to improve their performance, solve problems so they can also grow. So who is a leader? So this is great. I'm sure a lot of people are like, yes, our leaders should get it together. They should care more. They need more integrity. They. So who is they? Who is a leader? So again, I went back to my dictionary. That's, my go-to. A leader, it said, is a person who has commanding authority or influence. So there's a couple different options here. You'll hear a lot of conversations, again, when you research it, about whether leaders are born or made. Can you be taught to be a leader, or is it just an innate ability? I will tell you, all the research they did showed that everyone has the capacity to be a leader. And it really comes down to, even if you are a quote-unquote stereotypical leader, you're not going to lead everything all the time. That's just not how things work. I think we have a great example of it now. Due to the COVID crisis, Donald Trump may say he knows everything, but it's really not, it's not humanly possible. So all of a sudden, everybody knows Anthony Fauci. Was that who you voted for? No? Did you think that was a plan? Never heard him before. He's been working on viruses, for his whole career, many years, but now he has to step up because no leader leads everything all the time. So a leader is not just the top person in authority. It's not just the CEO. There are leaders on every level. Leadership is not just reserved for the top position. So here in Acts, Chapter 6, and in those days when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmuring of the Grecians against the Hebrews, because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration. Then the 12 called the multitude of the disciples unto them, and said, it is not reason that we should leave the word of God and serve tables. Wherefore, brethren, look ye out among you 7 men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over the business. So what is happening? The top leaders, they maxed out. Like, we have met our capacity. We got to get somebody else on board, which by default does what? It creates the next level of leadership. Nobody has time, capacity, or infinite knowledge to know or do all things. If that was the case, you didn't need the group in the first place. You also see, though, they didn't just pick anybody. We need somebody full of the Holy Ghost. They got an honors report and wisdom. They were also careful who they selected to be that next level of leaders. But we will give ourselves continually to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So they are going to stay the course, but I'm not even going to try to say these names. They went ahead and picked the next level of leaders because they can't do everything. And as we saw, the or was about influence. Influencing is also leading. Influence is the power or capacity of causing an effect in indirect or intangible ways. In Titus chapter 2, in all things showing thyself a pattern of good works. Again, this is more education by Paul to the church about how they should live godly lives. So in all things, showing thyself a pattern of good works. In doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, sincerity, sound speech that cannot be condemned, that he that is of the contrary part may be ashamed. So what's happening is, because I see you good, if I'm doing bad, that might make me change what I'm doing. So having no evil thing to say of you. So that's what they're saying. By you doing the right thing, you might have to step up. Even if you're not in charge, you might have to influence others. But the hope and the prayer is that you're influencing them to do good and not evil. So let's do a recap. So again, I'm not the authority. This is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but I have hopefully given you some thinking points for you to go and finish researching it yourself. Hopefully also examine yourself. Like, where are you on this list? Hopefully it's something that you will think about. So what do we know about leadership after today? We do know that people can do more when they work together. So working as groups is an important function of everybody's safety, survival, and advancement. You can just do more together than you can do by yourself. And leaders help these groups work together for the greater good. Like, that is their primary function. Leadership is not just about what you do, so skill is important. You still have to execute. You still have to deliver. That is not what I'm saying, that you should not, but it's also how you do it. You should not be doing those things at the cost of others. The purpose is for the greater good to benefit. Some skills to look for, or some qualities to look for in a good leader: they should be skilled. They should have integrity. They should be willing to listen. They should live by example, and they should care about their followers. Leadership is not just reserved for the top person in authority. Influencing is also leading. So you should also be prepared to step into leadership when needed. You can observe what is around you, and you know what's going well and what's going bad. You also know your own skills. So I implore you to have some integrity, and then you step in when needed to make sure things are going together for the greater good. That's it.